like that little 7-year-old boy in the cafeteria when I'm chewing my grapes and everybody can hear me chewing.
Isn't that so fun? Anyone here are chewing?
There we
I
go.
don't. Isn't
You're
that
like,
so
yeah, you're
sweet?
like that
That
7-year-old boy.
7-year-old boy, I know. Nobody heard me whatsoever. Ah,
People have
mm.
a little bit of that concerts when they over a whole minute open a candy, in a concert. I wish they would give me more
Claudia, it's
satisfaction.
called ASMR.
Yes.
There are whole videos where people open candy wrappers and take a bite out of a giant pickle and play with their chest hair with a high powered microphone. Welcome to Satsang. And welcome to Satsang. So, what Gervais was speaking to is this sweet moment that was kind of like one of the first moments that I noticed something that I usually don't notice. And that's the invitation of satsang. It's the invitation to get familiar with, gain the confidence in, and recognize what we usually innocently overlook. We innocently overlook. And so I was actually 6. I was a 6-year-old little boy. My parents were getting divorced. My mom moved us from South Florida. We lived right on the water. I loved my teacher and my friends and los pastelitos que estaban ahí por la esquina and all the pastries and the beach. And I was like, and then all of a sudden, my mom moved us to North Carolina to a Navy base. My aunt was in the Navy, and it was so depressing and so sad and so scary. And I was depressed, and I didn't even want to walk. I'm crawling and crying everywhere. I was like an old, depressed man, and not stop crying. And they would tell me, you want, I don't care what it was. I just want to go home. And then on top of that, I had to be the new kid at school. So I was horrified. And I get to the cafeteria because I still got to eat. And and I get my tray and I'm like, I go to the only corner that was like nobody was there and it was dark and I was like, that's where I'm gonna sit. I didn't want to be invisible. I don't want no one to see me, no one to talk to me. And I just want to eat my cereal and cry. That's all I want to do. And so I'm hypersensitive and I'm opening everything with the most meticulous grace. And I opened up my spork, I opened up my frosted flakes, and then all of a sudden I took a bite of the frosted flakes, and the crunch was the loudest sound I ever done heard in my head. Would you like a pillow, love?
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. Can you pass her a pillow?
Thank you.
Would you like 2 pillows?
Yes.
Wonderful. Here comes another.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Keep reading minds.
I know. And so that it was thunderous, the sound of that crunch. And I swore everybody was listening. And I swore that everyone stopped what they were doing and turned their heads to look at me. And then I imagined that they were listening so intently that their ears popped off of their heads. Then I imagined that the cafeteria was filled with hundreds of ears of different shapes and sizes with little tiny fairy wings on them. So they were like ears with fairy wings flying all around the cafeteria. And then I imagined that somehow all these ears knew that they had to rush to the center. And the moment that the ears rushed to the center, I imagined that they created just one giant ear, one big ear in the middle of the cafeteria. Everyone's ear there came together and made one giant ear. And then when I saw that one giant ear, I was like, oh shit, that's God's ear. And in the moment I imagined that was God's ear, there was this shift in my perception. And I was no longer experiencing life through the instrument of 6-year-old Ash, through the telescope, through the microscope, through the lens, through the projector, through the brain, through the consciousness. There was just this vast open expanse present. And I could see that the 6-year-old Ash, whatever the feelings were, whatever, that it was absolutely everything was in its place. That none of the sadness never needed to go away. None of the fear never needed to go away. None of the depression, none of the angst. It was like, oh, how precious, this beloved. I didn't have words for it, but there was this sense that all is well. And how come no one ever told me about this vast, expansive space of presence, of being? And then the way my 6-year-old brain came back together, and the way I interpreted it was, oh, every ear together makes God's ear. Every hand together makes God's hand. Every foot, every belly button, every body, everything together makes God. And that this, I didn't have the language, but it was this sense of, oh, this is God, the universe experiencing itself, this moment, this life. And then how sweet that life continued to invite me to cultivate that theme. Anytime that there was a lot of moments, a lot of opportunities. Talk about the dysfunction and the innocence of the adults that surrounded me, didn't know how to take care of themselves, didn't know how to meet their discomfort, didn't know, I mean, beloveds were just off the hinge, doing the best they can. Can anyone relate? Sweeties doing the best they can, and all kinds of trauma getting displaced and getting, it's just, so I had a lot of opportunities. And so what I would do in those moments would be like, okay, is the big ear here? And I'd lie down and I'd just listen. And I'd listen to what's happening outside. I'd listen to my parents or my mom and my aunt arguing, and listen to the TV. I'd listen to whatever animals or the wind. And then I saw that that there was no end to listening, that I could listen to my feelings, and I can listen to my body, and I can listen to my thoughts, and that I can listen to every single everything, and that there was no end to it. And in that rest and the listening, there was always a moment where the lines between the listener, the act of listening, and what I was listening to blurred. And there was just this vast expanse of presence. And then, what a surprise, that presence in the listening to all these sounds was revealed to be an uninterrupted silence. That all sound was but silence. All noise, all activity was silence. Listening as that openness. And so, like this meditation practice, and I didn't know what the word meditation was, didn't know. And there was an argument almost every 4 times a day. Who knows? Oh, is the big ear? Oh, the big ear's still here. The big ear's still here. And then I was given the gift of loving music and loving singing, and ended up singing at a church. And when I was singing at a church, it was just more invitation to notice that, someone asked me, why do you love music so much? And I was like, because it makes listening real. It makes listening real. And then it was interesting also that I had this sense that there was something beyond listening. Because one of my dearest friends, before we got moved to North Carolina, I was probably 4 or 5, my dearest friend was a woman in her 80s, an old Jewish woman named Dorothy. And she was deaf. She couldn't hear. And I'd be singing my heart out on the Coral Rock in South Beach. Right by there's this giant clock there. And I would use it as my stage. And I'd be singing, skin of my rinky dinky doo, skin of my ring. All these funny ass songs, these sweet little songs. And one day my mom was like, she can't hear you. She's deaf. And I was like, what? And so then some intuitive sense in me knew to get off the stage, stand by her, take her hand, put it on my heart, and continue singing to everybody with her hand on my heart. The sense of she can't hear me, but she can feel me. And she started crying. My mom started crying. I was like, why is everybody crying? But there was this sense of like, oh, wow, there's something also beyond what we call listening. And listening is so powerful because all the senses are so powerful because they confirm, they exalt, they announce the presence of awareness. They're the faculties in which we are able to exist as we exist. And even if we don't have them, we're still existing as we exist because the only thing that's ever going on is awareness aware of itself. We may imagine that there's all these other things happening, just like when I put on the screen and I open up my TikTok, what's going to be on my For You page? Oh, Lord have mercy. And look, there's a biscuit. There's a biscuit. Somebody talking about they left a cult. My friend, there's a bombshell announcement about somebody who may have actually won the presidential election because something was tampered with. Someone talking about their mailman flirting with them. Lord have mercy. Look at him blushing. Okay, this sweet. I mean, all kinds of things. Look, there's my friend Deborah Silverman. She has a lot to say. So much fun. Hey, Debbie Deb. I mean, oh, inviting me to have an AI boyfriend, which I'm on the fence with. I still haven't. I'm still considered. Um, I mean, best sneaker cleaning solution you could ever imagine. Or it could be kittens and waterfalls and whatever it is on the screen. We're like, oh, it's all these things, all this information, all these images, all these animals, all these people, all this. But it's still only ever just the screen. Same with our conscious awareness. No matter what the appearance, when we are willing to meet it, not emphasizing meeting it through the wonderful world of mind and its descriptive tendencies, then it's like, oh, vastness with vastness, gold with gold, love with love. And if those words don't resonate, whatever word resonates, peace with peace, void with void. Yes, love. Can you pass the microphone, por favor? And it's off mute. Thank you, love.
Yes,
Oh, you're
that was so
welcome.
lovely.
Oh, thank you, love. It was a very nice gift. Fucking grace. It keeps giving. Thank you, love. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, love.
Hi, my sweetheart. I love you. I really do.
I
It's
really
like I
love you.
remember. You're one of my keys to remembering or
Oh, well, that's an
recalling.
honor.
Yeah, you
That's
are.
an
It's like I
honor.
just remember, and I'm like, oh, and that's kind of my. There's because you had that moment where when you were a kid where you came to kind of glimpse awareness as itself.
Right.
And I remember when I first went to my first pointing out in the Tibetan tradition,
Ah,
you get a pointing out of your own
yes.
awareness to yourself. It's beautiful.
That is
I'm sure
beautiful.
it happens differently in different traditions, but
Yeah.
I remember maybe I had a glimpse, but immediately after my mind was like, I was going around asking the lamas, was that it? Was that it?
Oh, that is so
And
sweet.
my question is, because for you it was spontaneous,
Right.
and I wonder what these words would mean to somebody who doesn't recognize awareness
Right.
itself, and how if that's a process that can be nurtured, or if it's a process that can't be controlled. That it and my question is for those listening who maybe don't really know what you're talking
Right.
about. What can we? How can a person, I mean, is it just being it and the transmission, or I guess what do we say to them if they're lost here and they don't know what this essence, they don't recognize it yet, even though it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I so love this question. So much compassion in it. And how sweet. You know, one of the things in my experience, even though words happen, there's no part of me that ever wants anyone to know about awareness.
Okay.
It's like, it's none of my business.
I see.
You know, it's like I'm so excited for each apparent life stream to have the life that they're going to have. You know, to think what they think, hear what they hear, understand what they understand. Innocently, we can see this throughout various religious paths and various inquisitions, various where the innocence in wanting to wake someone up and wanting someone to see. And I'm not, this is not what I'm saying you're talking about, but in some instances that can lead to, we've seen, oh my gosh, the paths, right? The violence, the heartbreak. It's an actual form of violence. But to, you know, meet someone, you know, for example, when I meet someone, all I ever hear them say, even as I meet them as a human to human, the empathy is there, the compassion is there, the willingness to listen forever is there, the willingness to be annoyed with whatever comes up is there. It's like all of it's present. And all I hear them communicating, no matter how convoluted and how condensed and how tightly woven and how scary and how packed in the apparent trauma is, the apparent story is, the apparent victim story, the past, the telling again and again of their experiences. All I hear essentially, and I don't tell them this, is I'm free and I'm aware. I'm aware, I'm free. I'm aware, I'm free. Every part of their telling is evidence that they're aware.
Right, to you.
And they never have to know.
Right.
Because essentially they're sitting on grandmother's lap telling this scary story, even if they don't know they're sitting on grandmother's lap. But in other words, there's nothing but safety happening, even amongst the horrors of the apparent world. And that does not at all mean that we're not showing up with everything we can to help and to calm and to soothe and to, hi, would you be willing to, and then I may notice, I call this the cobra of clarity, because it's not something that I think of with my mind, but I'm also available for this cobra of clarity to go, and it just takes one word or one look or one, would you like to question that thought? Or that's so interesting. Or one, they tell me the craziest story about their breakup with the love of their life, and all of a sudden, naturally, it just comes up, congratulations. And that shocks their system. And maybe they're able to see a glimpse. But it's not something I think of with the mind, right? Spontaneous intelligence.
Does that ever surprise
Absolutely.
you?
I love it.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Whoa, I didn't even know that was
Especially as an artist, that's part of our job, is to show up as grace in the matrix, as insanity in the matrix, as a
it's spontaneous.
glitch.
There can't be this this intention of changing.
Oh yeah, that smells. That stinks. That's stale. Right. We know the feel of that. That's a pamphlet, and you're not a pamphlet. You are freedom itself. Sorry. Can you pass the mic?
That's all I said. Do you feel in those moments you can pick it up out of open intelligence?
She's saying, do you feel at those moments you can pick it out in open intelligence? Well, I never have to think that, because I don't experience a me and a thing. Oh, that I'm picking out. So that's way too much thought to think of a me and something that I'm picking out and choosing. It's so spontaneous. It's this moment meeting itself. And then that's what's so cool. What happens is that we shift our reliance on closed system, fossil fuel, unsustainable intelligence, which is the innocent mind and all of its stories. And this is what needs to happen, and that one needs to happen. And if I do this, that's what's going to happen. And if I say this, it's going to happen. Or maybe they're going to get pissed off if I do that. Or maybe this is going to happen. Or maybe I can't do, which again, I'm not knocking, but at the same time, it's like we're innocently attempting to solve a problem with the same unconsciousness that created the problem. And in our willingness to not know, and that's why I love the word available. It's my favorite word. Our willingness to be available. We're available to what? Life moving through us, living through us. So I mentioned earlier about a couple months later, I'm back in South Florida and I'm singing Amazing Grace because Aretha Franklin was my favorite singer and her gospel album was my favorite album. And I was playing with my G.I. Joes. I don't know, maybe they was humping. I don't know what they were doing. But that's usually what I had up to. Anybody that knows? No. But I was singing Amazing Grace. That was their Pon Chicka Pon Pon soundtrack. So I'm like, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. I don't know what the actual trills and runs I was doing, but I was feeling it and singing and singing. And then our neighbor, my grandmother's neighbor, heard me singing in the backyard, and she was like, "Who was that that's singing?" She came knocking on the door. She met me. She said, "Would you come and sing that at my church?" And I said, "Yes." And I went and I sang it at her church. And then I was invited to come back as a soloist at this all-black church that happened in a house. It was like this big house in Liberty City, which is close to where we used to live. And I said yes, and I started singing there. One day while I was singing there, the minister came up to me and said, "Ashley, are you thinking about God when you're up there singing?" And I said, "Oh, shit." I said, "No." He said, "Make sure you think about God when you're up there singing, because that's where the anointing comes through." And I said, "Oh, shit, I got to think about God when I'm up there singing." Lord. So I kept all week long, before it was my turn to sing again, I kept trying to hold an image of God in my head, and it would just disappear. I was like, I can't hold it. I can't. I'd start singing, and then it'd be like gone, and I'd be like, oh no, I gotta think about God. So the closest thing, the image that stuck the longest, was an old white man on a cloud with a fishing pole, and God was fishing. So I was like, okay, I could hold that at least a little bit. So when it was my turn to sing, and then the whole service, before it was my turn to sing, I'm like, gotta think about God, gotta think about God, gotta think about God, gotta think about God, gotta think about God. And it's fishing, fishing, boat, gotta think about God. And horrified, terrified. I don't even know what was happening. Didn't even know what was going on. I'm completely in my head about what I was supposed to do, that was the good thing to do, and not present, not there. And then when it was my turn, somebody must have said, hey, 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 because I was completely thinking about God, thinking about God, thinking about God. And then when I got on stage and they gave me the microphone, a microphone that I've held hundreds of times already, was a foreign object in my hand. I did not know what the fuck this shit was. It was like scary and like slow motion, like, and then a song that I sung, that I rehearsed, okay, I couldn't find the key. I didn't know what the lyrics were. It was a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess. And I cried and ran off the stage. And then when I'm in the back, and then, thankfully we had rehearsal for next Sunday. And while we were in the rehearsal room, and I'm still crying, the most amazing, talk about another grace, a moment of grace. This beautiful black woman, Albertina, came up to me, put her arms around me. She said, "Baby, why are you crying? What's going on? Are you sick?" She's feeling my temperature. She was like, "What happened, baby? What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know." She's like, "Yes, you do. What? What's going on? What happened?" And I said, "Well, I was trying to think about God, but I couldn't do it." And she said, "Who told you you need to think about God?" And I was like, and I point at the minister, at the preacher. I was like, and she was like, she gave him the side eye, and she was like, "No, no." She was like, "Baby, you never need to think about God when you're up there singing." And then she pointed at the guitar and the guitarist. And she said, "Is that guitar thinking about the guitarist right now?" And to my 6-year-old self, it was the most perfect question ever. And I said, "No." Is the drummer thinking about, is the drum thinking about the drum? No. Is the piano, is the organ thing? No, none of them are thinking about. She said, "Baby, you are an instrument of praise. You never need to think about God when you're up there singing, because God is already thinking about you." And that shifted, and I got it. It was like, oh wow, I could just be myself. Allow the song to pour through me. I can go back to not having to know anything about a microphone or holding it or the right way to stand or the right way to. I can just let myself be an instrument. And this is the sweet thing that we discover, that we're not limited to a stage or to a performance or to a special moments. But as we get familiar with this option of shifting our allegiance to mind's story of what's going on, to an unknowable, open, possible, curious space, we live our lives as instruments. Our yeses, our nos, our art, our lovemaking, our living, our parenting, our moving in the world, our communicating, our friendships. It's like, oh my gosh, we are the vast, loving, infinite presence of intelligence itself. And it becomes more and more obvious the more we're willing to allow that to be the case. Already the case, but allow it to flow, allow it to move us. So, yeah, I love that I never have to think about anything. It's like, and then also what's so beautiful about that is there's such a kindness to the body. And I say to the body and to the nervous system, because there's also a total willingness for it to be wrong, for you to mess up, for you to fuck up, for you to make the mistake, for you to say the most stupidest thing, do the most horrible, put the biggest foot up inside your mouth ever. And in that willingness, again, the ego isn't attempting to do it right or to take control it's like, again, you are a wire set loose, a live electrical buzz of possibility and celebration and hilarity, because life is full on hilarious. The joke is forever joking. The joke is forever joking. Okay, no me jeringue. Vaya. Did you have another thing you'd like to share?
Well, I could use your support in popping something also
Okay.
from my childhood, but which left not a good taste, but it's pretty much overcome. I want to go just a little
Let's do
deeper.
it. Yeah.
And that was, I think I was about 10 maybe, whenever we had a family, maybe a festival or so, and ate too much. And I went
Yeah.
down to my room and lied down. My consciousness, I completely, now the spiritual teachings would say how wonderful, but it was not wonderful. I became only a point.
Yeah.
I became just a point. And then I became, like in mass, a point who can go out of each other and in, all the geometric
Yeah.
patterns you can see nowadays on screens.
Yeah.
And then a point. And it was okay as long as, but then there was always a point when I realized the discrepancy between point and I was a 10-year-old girl.
Right.
And that freaked me. That's still colors sometimes a little bit my relationship to
Mhm.
freedom. And that's,
Yeah.
because there was a bit, there was fear in that freedom.
So good to bring that up. I so appreciate you. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge 10-year-old Claudia. I mean, what a sweetie, 10-year-old Claudia who really loved the food that was present. That's so adorable. And you
Yeah.
had to go lie down. And so let's just take a moment to notice. We talk about our child self, or like if it's in the past and it's not in the past. Our emotional body is synonymous with every age it's present. Our 2-year-old is present, our 6-year-old is present, our 7-year-old is present. All those sweeties are present. There's so many moments in life where I'm always checking in. Hi, sweetie. How are you in this instance? How is and so yeah, so you saw this point, and what was the story around it that was scary? If I'm a
Mm,
mhm.
just being disoriented, being, hey, we're identified, and suddenly be only a point is pretty
Right,
radical.
absolutely. It's like there's a lot of points here that make up who I am. There's a lot of atoms here, but all of a sudden,
Just
right.
like
And
it
so
was
for a
really like a
moment, noticing
spiritual.
the innocence of the fear, there was nothing wrong with the fear. There was nothing wrong with the confusion or a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Um, Starts with a D. Disassociation. Yes, and just feeling out of it. It's so okay. So let's just take a moment to just welcome those feelings for that 10-year-old. That she did not act the wrong way, or that it was perfectly innocent and acceptable, her response. So we have the sense of a point. We have the 10-year-old girl's interpretation or uh, shock or fear with and trauma with that point. What else was present?
Yeah, presence,
Presence,
awareness.
awareness. Yeah, and for a moment, feel into that awareness. Is awareness big enough to hold all of time? Every thought of a Claudia, every age of a Claudia, every season of a Claudia, all the places Claudia's ever lived, all the mirrors Claudia's ever looked into. This awareness that's still here. So noticing that a point of view, literal point of view of a point, came and went. A point of view of sensations came and went. A point of view of I'm 10 came and went. A point of view of, oh, now I'm 11 came and went. All points of view come and go, even the most spiritual points of view, even the points of view about dimensions and densities and beings and galaxies, all appearances that come and go in the stability that is the awareness you are. And even now, in the connection of a 10-year-old and whatever the beautiful age you are now, still seems to be somewhat of a pebble in the shoe of surrender, allowing that point of view to be here. Not an obstacle, not an obstruction, not something that even needs to pop. This is what's so beautiful about the welcome, is that there's no end to welcome. And when we're willing to welcome, we get familiar with ourselves as awareness, because welcome is not a place that the ego knows how to go. An ego cannot welcome. An ego is all about strategy. An ego is about indulging in. An ego is about attempting to justify its points of view, its existence. An ego is about the strategy of avoiding our sensations, avoiding the fear, avoiding the energy, avoiding the trauma, The ego is about replacing. I'm going to replace this with that, or this with that, this with that, this with that. I'm going to replace a better understanding of awareness with an even better understanding of awareness, or a closed understanding with an open and all of that is the activity of mind, so innocent. Mind never needs to change. Has anyone been engaged in an activity of attempting to change mind? So innocent. That's what mind does. And it's a strategy of the ego. If we're always attempting to change, we don't notice. Holy moly. Every atom is in its place right now. This moment is absolutely the clearest display of, I'm trying to think of a fun Buddhist word. Parmasambhava. Give me one, give me one.
Oh, a fun Buddhist word? Oh, yeah,
Samadhi, Dharmakaya, Sabokakaya. I love it so much. Yeah, this is the golden radiance of Buddha nature. This moment, just as it is the golden radiance of Christ consciousness. This moment, just as it is. When we don't notice that this moment, just as it is, we innocently move into strategy. Strategies of what? Of war. War and ego are synonymous. It's innocent. I'm not saying that ego is bad again and again. Only ego thinks ego is bad. Only ego has a problem with ego. Who you are as infinite, vast, no thingness has never once noticed an ego. Just as the ego has never once noticed awareness. Only awareness notices awareness. It's not the ego noticing awareness. The ego has the job description. Absolutely.
Which is also beautiful. It's not just that. It's a construct.
Right. And so again, let me say this again and again, and I will forever say this, and no one ever needs to hear this. This moment has no problem with the ego. The ego is not bad. The ego is wonderful and beautiful and exciting. It's art on a mural in Paris. I mean, it's wondrous and it's inseparable from awareness. It's inseparable from awareness. Just as my friend Candace O'Denver says, the color blue is inseparable from the infinite vastness of the sky, just like water is inseparable from its wetness. Inseparable. It's inseparable. Yes, love.
Oh, I was going to offer a musical interlude.
Oh, I love a musical interlude. Give the beloved a mic, beloved.
No lyrics, but it came. It's very old, but I
yes.
just think I'm feeling this. It goes,
Yeah.
oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Ay, 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 oh, oh, ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 oh, ay, 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 oh, ay.
That's what I was trying to say. The little donation bowl is over there. Goodbye, everyone. It's so beautiful. Yes, that's this moment singing to itself. This moment here with itself. This moment as chair, as couch. This moment as how many times have you adjusted since you've been sitting here? How many times have you scratched an eye or crossed a leg or moved or stretched? This is loving intelligence. Picked up the water bottle, opening it up. This is the symphony, the divine orchestration of love with itself, the universe with itself. Did you want to share something, love? No? Yeah. The I was gonna say the penguins. That'd be fun too. ¿Cómo se llaman esos pajaritos que están ahí arriba? Pigeons, the pigeons. The sound of the pigeons. I mean, goodness, the electricity, there's no end to noticing how this moment is showing up for itself. And I'm not speaking poetically or woo-wooly or spiritually. I'm trying to be as logical as possible. You know, I like to say unconditional love is as practical as the chair we're sitting on, as the oxygen in the atmosphere. Every planet holding this one in its orbit. There's a never ending support, inseparable embrace of life that knows no beginning or end here as itself. Life that is willing for every story of a beginning and end to come and go here with itself, as itself, as a 10-year-old with a moment of a point, and then the thoughts about that, the biochemical response to those thoughts about that, and still coming and going, and still, no matter how apparent time may pass, comes up every now and again. And in our willingness to allow every facet to be itself. So, for example, I love that I get to sit here and there's no part of me that feels that anything about my past needs to be resolved. Anything about my precious ancestors and the innocence of their crazy ass choices and their beautiful, empowered choices and everything in between. So welcome. In that welcome, you are no longer informed by any of the apparent intelligence that has led to those choices. You are informed by the wisdom that is your true nature. Informed, your body is informed. Your words, your actions, your art, again, your life, what you say yes to, what you say no to. And it's a sweet option that we have as humans. Human beings, also the power of the universe right where you sit, existing in practical, effective ways. It's another definition for human being. Poetry, the moment, the practical applications, mind, that which has never been touched by mind. And then it's so clear, oh my goodness, these sweethearts who are causing so much harm and so much trauma and fear. Beloveds who have not noticed their true nature, caught up in so many stories. The pain, they exist as a dirty sock of pain. Inside, they're riddled with pain and shame and guilt and terror. Terror. Who needs an army but someone who is terrified? We think that these big men with guns and their No, beloved. That's perpetuating the horror and the terror and the fear. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And it ends with us. Where does it end? Only here. It does not end there. It does not end in them. it does not end in their minds, that's none of our business. If we think it ends in their minds, boy, do we suffer. We end up becoming the very thing we imagine we're fighting against. We become the terrorist. We become, it's so innocent. And it happens over and over. And when you get a clue, you start recognizing, oh, wow, there's something off here. And that's consciousness tapping you on the shoulder, saying, yeah, love, there's another option available. There's another option available. Anyone have any questions around that? Or something you'd like to share regarding that? Or does it feel clear, that invitation? So innocent. And I use the word innocent because it's innocent. Truly we don't know until we know. Truly. It doesn't trivialize the horror of it and the heartbreak of it and the whatever we can to support, to soften, to minimalize the insanity of that. Yeah.
I so appreciate all of that.
Mm.
But my question is, it's easy to say that when we're far away. What happens when it knocks on our door?
So good. Yeah. And life will always invite us to have the experience of it knocking on our door. No matter how much we try to escape or to not be in those realms, it never works. Life has a way of always coming and knocking at our door or knocking on the inside of our door. And those are the moments that count. That's where the rubber hits the road. That's where the butter gets churned, is in meeting the energetic kale of life, is what I call it. Because it has its own nutrients. This is where we start practicing. So skillful means is a word used in different Buddhist traditions. And that's becoming conscious of how mind keeps attempting to exalt separation consciousness, me, them storylines. I'm the victim, you're the perpetrator. You're the victim and I'm gonna kick your ass, or all those different dances of dualistic frameworks. So in a moment that comes knocking on our door, and that comes knocking on our door may look different to everyone. Suffering is relative. So, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and the innocence of mind. Suffering may actually look like a bomb right in your front door, or it may look like your traffic, right? Or your Rolls Royce getting a scratch on it, the insanity of the relative suffering of mind. And it's so wild. It's an argument with what is. But to meet that with willingness. So everyone, let's say the word willingness together. Willingness. I'm telling you, that is one of the most powerful motherfucker in the motherfucking planet. Was that Beyonce song? No stopping me. Ain't motherfucker stopping me. Mm-hmm.
That's totally heightened for me when we are here together in this room. Satsang.
Yes, that's the gift of satsang.
We pray together, and then walk calms down my nerve system to a degree. You know what I mean? Like, what we create together, or just what descends upon us, whatever we want to say it, makes probably I don't know if it's a nerve system. I'm not a medical person, but I imagine calms it enough down that all this, what you say, is naturally true.
Yeah.
I have no argument with it. But when I'm, out, I can measure when I'm a little bit out how often I get annoyed.
So good.
And I know this with you over the years now. I mean, stuff happens here. and you are almost everything amuses you. You know what I mean?
That's
You can
true.
take almost everything and be truly in life amused or delighted, or whereas half of those things would annoy me.
So hear you.
Yeah, and
I
so
so hear
I
you.
wonder if that's the moment, with the not allowing, or
Right.
you know.
So that's the thing. Yeah. In our innocence, so the moment we have an argument with what is, so let's say we're in traffic and we're like, there should be no traffic here. Or let's say there's a loud noise and there shouldn't be a loud noise here. They should have known better. I left a note on my neighbor's door about the times that I wanted them to be quiet. And they're still going, I mean, all those thoughts. So that's the thing that we start discovering, is that peace has nothing to do with outside world being something or not being something. It's who you are. It's your nature. So instead of how do I become more peaceful, we start getting really curious and excited about how am I not being, or how am I not noticing the peace that always is. And in that inquiry, we may notice, oh, I have a thought that isn't true. I'm assuming something. I'm believing something. I've become an evangelist to this particular religion, that this person shouldn't do this anymore. This person shouldn't say that anymore. This person shouldn't act that way anymore. And again, we agitate ourselves. We only ever react to our own story. We never react to something happening. We react to our story of it. And so for a moment to let it be, that willingness, I notice within me there's bottomless willingness. And in that bottomless willingness, I notice that I'm also available to show up as love and compassion, because it's naturally there. I don't have to make love happen, make compassion happen. I don't have to make kindness happen. I don't have to make empathy happen. It's already the fragrance of who you are, closer than the story of who you are. So again, I am willing for every knock on every door. There's no part of me aqua netting something in place. No, keep out. That is again perpetuating the sense of separation. I like to say that there are tres amigos of separation consciousness. The three amigos of separation consciousness. And that skillful means to notice, are the three amigos active right now? And I bet anytime you feel a little pissy, anytime you feel a little angry, anytime you feel a little annoyed, anytime you feel a little like, what the fuck is going on? Anytime, if you take a look, you're going to see that those tres amigos of a separation consciousness are going, them bitches are there. So what are those tres amigos of a separation consciousness? Time, identity, cause and effect. Cause and effect. So time. Why is time an amigo of separation consciousness? Time is synonymous with mind. Time is like, oh, I can't wait for a future. Can you mute the other mic? I can't wait for a future where I am free. I can't wait for a future when I don't have a problem anymore. I can't wait for a future when I can love everyone. I can't wait for a future when I can sit here and just be like, oh my God, it's all God. It's all love again. So we're in time. And then in time, who's also there? Identity. Notice every sentence I said is I can't wait. I can't wait. Who can't wait? I can't wait. Who can wait? I can wait. Kimbara kimbara kumba kimbamba. Kimbara kimbara kumba bam. Who can wait? I can wait. Who can wait? I can. I. Oi. 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 Ugh. Oi. 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 I always eyes at the scene of the crime. Say, oh yeah, me and my annoyance, me and my peace, me and my good body, me and my bad body, me and my good food, me and my good boy, me and my bad boy, me and my good girl, me and my good them, me and my bad them, me and my everything. Me, mama, mama, me, mama, me, mama, me. Mama yo quiero, mama yo quiero, mama, mama, mama yo quiero. Ay, Dios mío. And so innocent. And again, I'm not making any of these wrong. They're not wrong. The spice of life is paprika, baby. That shit paprika. Yes. I love the story of an ash and of an ash who has a mommy that lives in Key Largo named Barbie Key Largy. Hey, Barbie Key Largy. And that I have my brothers and sisters, and that I have I love it that I'm on planet Earth. I love that I get to serve medicine and be in these spaces, and I love that I get to meet new people, and I love that I get to meet new people that my mind can imagine I've seen them before, and I love. It's so much fun, so much fun, and when it comes to peace, it's so clear. Oh, has nothing to do with any of that. I am peace. I'm not someone trying to get to peace, or not someone trying to glue peace down or make peace stay. Peace is more real than Ashley and his social security number and his thumbprint and the things he likes, the things he don't likes, the kind of sheets he likes, the bamboo sheets from Cozy Earth. I mean, Lord have mercy. Peace is who I am. Peace is your nature. Peace is the reality of who you are. Notice right now, how long is your story going to last? You never know. I mean, if you look right now, it's not here. Only the story of a story is here. Yes.
Hopefully these are helpful.
They're so helpful.
Well, I guess I had this question. I don't know if it's just it's what's coming up. It's this
Yeah.
thing about like, okay, when this first started tonight, I had this really big sensation, like that sensation when you're coming up on a psychedelic and you think you're gonna throw up, and it's too much for you to take. You know
I
that
love
feeling.
that
It's
sensation.
like every the words like the microphone
Yes.
like that like it's like, whoa, do I need to get out of here feeling. And
Love
yeah,
that.
so
Welcome to
I
Satsang.
welcomed it.
Yes.
I expanded because your invitation was so kind and gentle. I was reminded that I could really hold that in the space of awareness.
Beautiful.
And but I wondered this question, and it's kind of a trickster question, because I wonder how you'd say it about it. Like, essentially, the better you get at resting with awareness, I wonder if the arisings get tamed, or if the more you resist, you basically have my question or inquiry for myself, or even my suspicion, I guess you could say, is
Yeah.
that the more I live in mind only and sort of ignore or indulge, or even just for whatever reason it happens that mind's just the main
Mm-hmm.
ruler of the show, and there's an immense amount of drama and chaos, as there
Yeah.
sometimes is around me,
Hey.
that when I finally rest into awareness,
Yes.
the intense effulgence of sensation that I've almost been like
Yeah,
kind of
so
re-arises. So
appropriate.
there's like
Right.
almost like like this need to almost be really brave. The feeling is
Yeah.
like it takes courage to get that big, to hold that, but that discomfort is so intense because of such long. That's my questions around this idea of purifying, or the buildup, and this sort of like
Yes.
monstrousness of the monster that we have to kind
Yeah.
of get. But it feels like it's the. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're
I feel like
saying.
I've said enough.
And I know what you're saying, and I so appreciate this. This speaks to
Yeah.
what I've been talking about regarding indulging, avoiding, replacing, which is the fuel, the gas stations. If you want to take your ego to a gas station, indulge. If you want to take your ego to a gas station, avoid, replace, measure, compare, categorize, describe. describe, 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 describe. Hello Kitty stickers, labeling everything, every single thing, every single thing. And to the ego, this invitation is horrifying, terrifying. It is a because it can't survive in the present moment. It dies here. And what supports that is willingness, the gentle willingness for the moment to be as it is, for the emotions to be as they are. You know, the ego is terrified of emotions. It makes it does what we see happening throughout different ages of history repeating itself, where certain people are labeled certain things, and then there's other people who say they're not worthy, and then all of a sudden you have all the different names for concentration camp, and that's how the ego meets our emotions. People act like that because that's how they treat their internal landscapes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And an outshining begins to occur. An outshining. When I'm with you, we outshine together. We outshine together. And there's no my shine or your shine. Nothing here but shine. Oh, this shine. It's really sweet. That's when we get to start discovering there's no ceiling to willingness. There's no ceiling to rest. There's no ceiling to gratitude. There's no ceiling to the deepening that effortlessly unfolds in our willingness to be, simply be who it is we are. And our willingness to be broken if we're broken, sad if we're sad, afraid if we're afraid, angry if we're angry, if we're angry, if we're angry. Oh. What I love about this discovery is that more and more we see that we are not the ones that get liberated. When we're constantly attempting to sort out and confine and isolate and eradicate or our emotions, our sensations. We forget that our nature is liberation, and we imagine ourselves as the one who needs to get liberated. I need to be free from this sadness. I need to be free from this trauma. I need to be free from this world. I need to be free from this dimension. I need to be free from this ignorance. I need to be free from this body. I need to be free from this pain. I need to be free from this, and it just perpetuates again. The tres amigos of separation consciousness are constantly present. Identity, identity, time, and cause and effect, totally emphasized and just loud. But the sweet antidote that has been invited throughout time, throughout the ages, this invitation to, for a second, be willing to just allow everything to be as it is. That's none of our business. Yeah, that's the ego coming in to
try to save
continue more
everything
time, identity,
yeah.
and cause and effect.
And everybody.
To the degree that you imagine that you are something is to the degree that you imagine there's another person.
Okay.
To the degree that you imagine there's another person, boy, there's nothing that makes your ego more real than the story of another. Is there? Think about it. That story of other and their suffering, then you get to be the savior. You get to be the one that gives the brain good news. You get to be it's all mind. But if you are willing to, in this moment, take responsibility, in this moment, truly exist as that invitation from that sweet little beloved named Gandhi, giant heart Gandhi, be the peace you wish to see in the world. That's a real option. And we discover that by now allowing everything to be as it is. That doesn't mean we're a doormat. That doesn't mean that we're condoning insanity. It means that we are energized, fortified, available, powerful, badass motherfucker here, ready to exist, ready to art, ready to sing, ready to dance, ready to create churches, ready to be a part of communities, ready to all the things. And I meant plant medicine churches when I said churches. Looked at Gervais and the incredible community she's created. leafanddivine.org, if you will. And all the things were available to be a presence of benefit. Our nature is of benefit. That is our nature. You can't get around it. That's who we are. We are magic wands of benefit. Sweet, soft-bodied, magic wands of benefit. Bleeding, magic wands of benefit. Shivering, trembling, magic wands of benefit. Humming, singing, crying, snotty, magic wands of benefit. Magic wands of benefit. That is our life. This is our life. To exist as benefit. To exist as radiant, unknowable force of a positivity that knows no opposite. Wholeness.
How can I overcome the sense, what I said before, that together, I mean, a little bit you're guiding it, but it's not just you, it's us. What happens here really is like not like a drug, but creates that for me, makes everything totally real.
I know what you're asking.
So how do I create that without neither you nor you nor you?
I love that. So no matter where you are, you're surrounded by Buddhas as a permission slip. In my experience, when I started allowing everything to be as it is, and in that started noticing that when I meditated, I was simply a human that allowed myself to be as it is. And so my definition of meditation changed. It wasn't something that came or went. For me, the definition of a meditation is something just being itself. And then I started noticing, oh, wow, if I'm just allowing everything to be as it is, and they call that meditation, what else is here that's allowed to be as it is? It's just being itself. So I saw everything as the Buddha. The chair, the candle, the TJ Maxx Buddha, the the wall art, the light, everything being itself. Everything being itself is the Bodhisattva, is the Buddha. Everything being it's as a permission slip. Notice wherever you are, in whatever circumstance, and feel into the grace. There is an energetic, enlightened potency shimmering throughout all phenomena. And if we take a moment to acknowledge the holy reality of all things. Again, just because we call a chair is never, ever, 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 ever made it so. Never made it so. Take that in. Just because we call anything, it has never made it so. It's just called that. We give so much authority to make believe. It is all made up. Wet, naked, shivering monkeys on a rock soaring through infinity. We had to find something to entertain ourselves with. Rock, tree, the toe, Webster's Dictionary. Ay, Dios mío, when I was a kid, we had a whole bookshelf encyclopedia in English and in Spanish también. Tantas palabras, so many words, so many definitions, so many chong chong. Nothing, no substance within any of those words. You are the blaze of consciousness itself in every moment, no matter how that moment appears, no matter where you imagine yourself to be. Yes, a force. And in that, I'm willing for the dream. I'm willing for a sense of being somewhere. I remember I was at a veterinarian's office in Iquitos, Peru, back in 1996, because I had a pet monkey who was addicted to Sprite, and I wanted to wean him off his sugar addiction. So I took him to the veterinarian's office. And while I was there at the veterinarian's office, I was noticing I am not at all in a veterinarian's office. I'm not at all on a planet. I'm not at all in a solar system. I'm not at all in a universe. This is just pure, immeasurable, loving potency with itself. This is the silence of silence, the sweetness of sweetness, the sacred with the sacred, the holy with the holy. And I didn't have to maintain it, sustain it. It wasn't a mind trip. It was just telling the truth. Just telling the truth, seeing through the delusion of mind and story and words and definitions to causeless joy itself. And as I sitting there in that, oh my gosh, uncaused bliss of being, this couple walks in, and I guess they felt or they sensed or it reflected their sense of being. And this woman came and sat closer to me, put her hand on my knee, and said, I sense a deep silence. And I was like, yes, endless, endless silence here. And that opened up a conversation. They turned out to be anthropologists. And they invited me to go and sit with them at an ayahuasca ceremony 2 days into the rainforest with a tribe called the Shuar. And that's how I was invited into that world of ayahuasca. In that willingness to sit and notice the truth of this moment. And so it's such a sweet option to notice our story of where we are. This reminds me of my grandmother, my grandma Jean. Gina Rosa di Santo Chasco Evangelista. Oh, one of my favorite things she's ever told me was, Ashley, because she had a Brooklyn accent. She came when she was young and she lived in Brooklyn. Boredom is the only miracle. Boredom is the only miracle. To a kid, I was like, what do you mean? Because I got home and I'd be like, I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm so bored. I'm bored. And so she was like, you're bored? And I was like, I'm bored. She's like, boredom is the only. I was like, what do you, I don't know what that means. I'm bored. And then she said, look, wait. And she picked up a rock. She put it in front of my face and she started hypnotizing me with it. She started moving it around my head. And just moving. And she was like, Ashley, what if I'm holding this rock? And then she held it in front of my face. What if as I hold this rock and I let it go and it stays floating right in front of your face? Do you think that was cool? And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. If you could like have a rock float. And she was like, and what if that rock started to spin? And then it started spinning around your head. And then what if you could hear car horns and kids playing and music and animals? What if there was a whole world living on that rock? I was like, oh wow, that'd be really cool. And then she clapped and was like, "What do you think this is right now?" She said, "This is a tiny rock. This whole planet is a tiny rock soaring through infinite stars. That's why, to me, boredom is the only miracle. It's a miracle that we're all not going, ah, what the fuck is happening? What is this? Where are we? What is a fucking tongue? What is a tooth? What is a body? What is a bowel movement? What is an orgasm? What is just sitting? What is being here? What is oxygen? That really was a huge shift for me. My sweet Italian grandmother. She also, I mean, what a sweet lady. A little Italian granny Buddha. She also one day, in a boredom moment, was like, "I was reading in this article that there's parallel worlds, Ashley. There's all these parallel worlds. And what do you think about that?" Oh, parallel worlds? Like, what do you mean? Like, there's a whole other world that everything that I'm doing and I'm saying to you, another me is doing and saying to the other you. And then there's another one and probably infinite parallel worlds. My little brain was like, zzz. And then she asked the question, if what you do now affects what you do in all your parallel worlds, what do you want to do? And my little 8-year-old, 7-year-old self immediately went like this. And I hugged myself. And literally, the moment I hugged myself, I literally felt in every parallel infinite world that I was hugging myself. So I invite you, give yourself a hug in your parallel worlds. Isn't that sweet? All those parallel worlds, infinite. Oh my God, infinite planets, infinite solar systems. It's so sweet. I love that thought. See, this is mind set loose from its own grips. So it's like where awareness uses mind, uses words, uses story, uses phenomena, all as its benefit. We do it consciously, and then we notice that's only ever been the case. Everything serving, everything supporting, everything medicine, everything medicine. Todo viene, todo viene, medicina dentro. Everything has medicine. Everything is medicine. Love, 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 love. La 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 la. What kind of song wants to come through right now? I want to write a song I wrote in a parking lot. I was about 21 years old, and I was sitting in this parking lot, and I had all this stuff in my heart saying, how do I show this to the world? How do I make someone see? How do I make someone understand? How do I write another song that's gonna wake the world up? And and it was so, and this little song came through that says, if you're conscious or not, it doesn't matter. We are all in this together. What a love affair. Hold your child, pull the trigger, use your lies to get richer. Beat her down and then kiss her. Oh, what a love affair. I used to point my finger and say you're wrong. I'd wanna heal the world with every song. But now I know that it's okay. Just play, reflections, play. You. you. You can be yourself or another. It's your ego that you smother. Life is only fair. You can kill a cow or eat some spinach. Keep on running till you finish. That's a joke, there ain't no finish. We are all nowhere. N-O-W now. H-E-R-E here. Nowhere. Now here. I was listening to a lot of SUV back then. I used to point my finger and say you're wrong. I'd wanna heal the world with every song. But now I know that it's okay. Just play, sweet children, play. Changeless love, that's all there is. You can try your best. You can try your best, but nature wins. Yes, now I know that it's okay. Just play, sweet children, play. Play, reflections, play. Hey, oh. And I'm just gonna leave you with this little thing I wrote this morning as I felt into all that's going on in this world, in Los Angeles, in Gaza, in Israel, in Sudan, and all the places in the Middle East and Africa, and in our neighborhoods, and who knows the hell people are experiencing right next door. Lord. There's a great grief that doesn't belong to one person, but moves through us all. A sacred ache for the suffering of our beautiful human family. Today, my heart feels heavy with the cries coming out of Los Angeles from our precious Latino community being torn apart by ICE agents. Families separated, dignity dismissed, as if love has borders and belonging can be revoked. And I feel the piercing sorrow of Gaza, where children are not numbers, and peace feels like a memory too fragile to hold. Each life sacred, each life sacred, each prayer a whisper in the dust. And I see Greta and her crew. Oh, I was feeling Greta in my heart so strongly. A young voice of fierce clarity and immeasurable courage, mocked and arrested for refusing to look away, for daring to care too much in a world anesthetized by convenience. And even in the face of this pain, I remember discomfort gets displaced. Discomfort gets displaced. Fear becomes policy. Unmet wounds shape distorted realities, and the tragic innocence of world leaders, ICE agents, and warmongers acting out from generations upon generations of unquestioned assumptions is still the same life. Crying for contact, for awakening, screaming for rest. We don't ever excuse the harm, but we do see the one consciousness dressed in 1,000 costumes of confusion and clarity, playing out its forgetting and remembering. From the eyes of freedom, we do not look away. We see the dream, the nightmare, and we love it awake. We feel the pain, and we remain as the love that never turns its face. So I bow to the mothers weeping in detention centers, holding lullabies in their throats and hope in their trembling hands, navigating unbearable loss with unshakable love. I bow to the souls buried in silence, the forgotten, the disappeared, those whose names were never known, but whose existence hums quietly through the bones of our earth. To the children who still choose to sing, even in rubble, even behind bars, their voices defying despair, proving again and again that joy is a revolutionary force. To Greta and her crew's brave heart, I bow. I bow to the youth who carry ancient wisdom, who shake the cages of apathy with the roar of conscience, who teach us that no soul is too small to rattle the world awake. I bow to those causing harm, blind to the harm within themselves, whose actions are echoes of ancestral trauma, whose cruelty is a shield for unmet sorrow, who, like all of us, long to feel safe in their own skin, even if they've forgotten how to love, how to feel, even if they've forgotten that who they are is the love that feels. To the one appearing as all, the jailer and the jail, the protester and our world leaders, the land and the bomb, the scream and the silence, the vastness behind every face, playing hide and seek with itself. May this heartbreak deepen our availability. May it soften the walls around our shared humanity. May we act from wholeness and not from fear. May we act from wholeness and not from fear. I love you all. This moment loves every face, every form, every flicker of this impossible beauty. Thank you for the satsang, loves. Bodhi, can you turn off that light, please? Yeah.